5 years to get to where my brother is. We're just fortunate enough that we are Toak Projects, and I think we make it what it is, and fortunate to have each other. And I think that's what makes Toak Projects really good. It's us.
Let's just say, obviously, not everyone out there has a brother or a partner, because it's hard to find a partner which you think is gonna give a fuck about the business.
We spoke about it earlier, and it comes, unfortunately, we don't speak about money a lot, but it's sacrificing your own little bit of money at the start. Builders are running multi-million-dollar businesses. Any other corporation that's turning over $3 to $5 million worth of money has 5, 6 people employed in the organization. So if you have one person running a large corporate organization, it's not going to work. If my brother didn't have me, I'd be recommending him he hired somebody.
Welcome to the first episode of the Real Estate Show. We have created this show to speak with the great minds and the great innovators into the real estate space. We are looking to obviously speak to architects, real estate agents, builders, developers. And here today we have the Taouk brothers. Welcome Michael and Paul from Toak Projects. Michael is the project manager of the company and Paul's the builder. Paul has been featured as a builder on the block in multiple seasons, and they also have been developing their own projects. So guys, welcome. It's an honor to have you guys on, and I've obviously known you guys for a really long time on a friendship basis, and I've been watching what you guys have been doing, and it's been insane. So I thought, you know what, there's no better people to get you guys first up to obviously give us a bit of a rundown on how your journey's been and how we're here, what's been happening.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for that. Good to see you again.
Crazy whirlwind of how we got here. So bit of background. So Paul's the builder. I'm the project manager. But for a while we had different careers. Yeah. So then I was corporate. Got my master's in business, and then offered voluntary redundancy. My brother just said, just take it and let's do something.
We were in the middle of a development at the time, so we were building something in Thornbury, and Michael was kind of just doing all the back end stuff, and we realised this is working well. We smashed this build out, had a basement, it was our first basement, kind of the whole job came together so smoothly. I had my brother on the back end. I obviously never had that before, so I'd done builds before that. I was mainly doing carpentry, but I was always struggling with the back end things, because being on site, managing the site, and then trying to manage the back end, it's too much. And as a builder to try and do both, it's very, very hard. So when I realized when Michael was there that everything was just flowing so much easier, I could focus on on-site things without having to worry about the back end things. So we realized we had a good team coming together. So I think that was
quick. Took my redundancy and COVID hit, so that was challenging. So starting a new career, COVID had hit, and you kind of the uncertainty, but. Very fortunate, 4 years later that I took the risk and we joined forces.
When you were looking to obviously take that risk, like, what were you feeling? Like, what were you kind of telling yourself? Like, what was going through your head?
Having done corporate for so long, and almost 10 years, and then you could identify that the building industry, and especially the small to medium scale that we are, kind of missing that aspect. So I was quite confident that if we brought systems and processes from the corporate world and interact that with the trades, that it'd be a really good combination. But just hesitant, because it's such a dynamic market. But fortunate enough to have good family, friends around us, and the business really took off really quickly. And I think from that aspect, it's all a referral business. So we've never one word of advertising. It's all referral. So we nailed the first job, and they told a friend, and their friend told a friend, and it snowballed very quickly.
Even in regards to, I know you wanted to say something, Paul, but just quickly. No. So when you say corporate, were you project managing? Was it in construction, or was it something
different? So I was an optimization manager for a large insurance company. So I had gone from managing teams of 1,000 to really high level corporate jobs for Telstra, this company called Tel, Origin Energy. So was able to really establish myself within that world, and it was a huge risk, but there comes a point where you just want to be your own boss. You want to take the lessons and learnings over a decade of working for a large employer, and utilizing them in your own organization, in your own business. which has been, I think we're really fortunate to be able to do.
So that's a crazy dynamic. So then obviously when you jumped in with Paul, like, was there much that you kind of had to learn, or was it very similar principles?
Everything.
We don't overlap, and I think that's a great thing. Is my strengths are Paul's weaknesses, and Paul's weaknesses, Paul's strengths are my weaknesses. So we don't overlap, and we've got really clear structure of who takes care of what, and I think that's why it works so well.
Yeah, that's crazy.
At the start, obviously Michael came from a high-paid job, and I don't know if you remember, we didn't have any jobs on for quite a while. I think we had an office, and I think there was 3 months we had no work, and I was feeling the pressure of Michael had just left his high-paid job to join me in this building industry. We had no jobs on, and we went to work every single day. We sat in this office, we planned future jobs, what we want to do, what's our processes. I think that's really the foundation of where we started to come. If it wasn't for that 3 months off, I don't think we'd be where we are today, because we really started to build our processes. What is it that we wanted to do? Who was it that we wanted to be? And we established that first before we started to win jobs. And then we kind of already had that foundation back end completed. So it gave us the time to work on the business. Typically at the start, you're working in the business. We had time to really work on the business. So I think that played a big part in where we are now. And we kind of always have to bring ourselves back to say, all right, let's get other people to work on the business. We need to work, in the business, we need to work on the business.
Take a step back to go one forward.
Take a step back, slow it down a little bit, stop working in the business and start to work on the business. I think that played a massive part in our development.
Well, that's crazy. And how have you guys been finding each other? Like, obviously you guys are, you're the project manager, you're the builder, but how do you find it? You guys clashing a lot? Like, you killing each other, or?
We've never really fought our whole life, whether it's
as brothers or
as brothers. We don't really fight. We might have a heated discussion every now and then about difference of opinion on things, but I think if you just consider it, express how you're feeling consistently, and that's the key. If don't hold on to anything. If you have an issue, bring it up instantly in a respectful way, and then consider. And we can if you can respectfully disagree with something and still go forward. It's when you don't voice it and it festers.
And one thing we've been doing lately is building each other up and celebrating the small successes. I think that's a big part of business, is knowing we went from X and now we're at Y, and we needed to celebrate the whole way through. And even the small wins, like we literally came from nothing, and now I think we're about to have 9 projects running at one time. So we're proud of what we've done, and I think it's about celebrating every success as you go.
That's crazy. Even you guys, so you guys probably been around now
fourth year.
Yeah, fourth year. Wow. And how have you found, like, how long has it taken now for it to start just like snowballing and just kind of run?
Like Paul said, like the first year or so, it's a struggle, but this isn't a business where we speak to someone today and we start tomorrow. It's cultivating, most of our jobs, I'll be speaking to them for a year. They'll just say, I'm thinking about building fantastic, let's touch base. Where are you looking? How much you want to pay? Because we also offer a design and construct service, and councils take a while. So minimum time from when we meet someone to when a job starts is a year. So it's taken a while, and it's still like we're scheduling jobs for 2025 now. 24, 25. That's how far back you need to really plan in this game. So you always need to, and then you just don't know that every opportunity is, everyone searching someone. Every opportunity at some stage could come to fruition.
And if it's not, they know someone anyway. So how many are you working on? How many projects are you working on?
So we got about 4 live. By the end of the year, it'll be about 8, and we're speaking to 8 or 9 other people who are looking at getting. And at some stage, we're just going to have to close our books, because we want to provide a high level of service. So it's not all about quantity; it's about quality as well. So we like to maintain our business that we're involved in every project. So although we've got a good team around us, we want that personal, because everything's attention to detail. This is the most anyone would spend in their lifetime. If you're spending between 600,000 above, it's your biggest spend ever. So we treat it like it's the biggest investment someone's ever going to make. So the real minor details are really important to us.
I think even as well, like just going into that, like what are you finding? Like what's the biggest hurdles that people are kind of like, if you're, let's just say you were looking to, I don't know, if I was looking to come to you guys, like what are you guys finding are the biggest hurdles with people looking to develop or build it at the moment?
I think just scarcity at the moment with price rises is a thing that people are holding back. In terms of in terms of the conversion of the job, I find that if someone's coming to us and they're serious, typically we would convert the job into a build. I
think that the tough part at the moment is price, and it's fundamentally difficult because prices have drastically increased over the last 12 months due to COVID, and not sure what COVID has to do with price increases, but it has, and it fluctuates so much, and people need to adjust. There's a new adjustment period. You know, what used to cost 400 now maybe costs 550, and it's difficult from our end because we need to relay that information to them, but it's also difficult from them because wages haven't increased at the same rate as the prices increased, and along with interest rates, and it's difficult. So we try to implement some strategies for cost reduction while not impacting quality. So 60% of your cost when you build are fixed. You know, it's your concrete, your steel, your timber. Can't change that, but you can be really thrifty on tile selection, floor selection, downlights, all those sorts of things. You can influence those, and we try to shop. We pride ourselves to know most stores in Melbourne and most new innovative products that hopefully we can help these clients at least bring down the cost a little bit.
What are you finding, like what's like a standout product for like tiling, or like what's the general feeling, like what vibes are people looking for, like, or what trends?
I see a lot of curved walls.
Yes, it's curved walls. I think it's the dark stuff have kind of go out, where it's dark concrete. The blacks have kind of faded away, and it's more neutral tones, so earthy tones, so light greys, light creamy colours. Very Mediterranean vibe is very in at the moment.
In regards to, like, I don't know, like what are tips for people if they're looking to build? Like, what tips, or what are you telling people at the moment?
One thing we're finding with clients, and it's something that we recommend, is have your builder involved in the design aspect. So we have had a lot of jobs come through our door, and they've got an X budget, but they've designed it without speaking to the builder, and it's just like, we want to build this $3 million house for $1 million. It's not realistic. So I think engaging a builder before you start to design, it plays a massive role in trying to hit that budget.
So what are people like, they would be just going to pick their own stuff, or
it's more in the design process. So for example,
even the size of the house.
The tip and the projects that have worked the best and have become the most, we call them optimized, is when the architect and the builder collaborate on the design process. So architects are really good at designing, but they don't understand the build process as well as we do. And there are small things that we can suggest on reducing the size of things and the span, which might save tens of thousands of dollars, because sometimes things are designed but they can't be built that way. But biggest tips for people is probably around, it's always that design phase. It's really maybe spending a little bit extra, maybe $3,000 to $5,000, getting your architect to detail your internal elevations. So we might get floor plans, but people don't know what their bathrooms, their kitchens, etc. would look for. It's actually worthwhile spending that little bit extra and getting your internal elevations detailed. So then when the builder goes to build it, he's building from a set of plans, not from just a discussion between two parties.
What are the common mistakes are homeowners making when they're looking to build?
I think it's colour choices. Again, unfortunately, it all comes down to the planning, and people. What we find, some clients are hesitant, and rightly so, in paying that extra fee for interior design and etc. and think that they can select those things. So, interior designer is probably important in the process, especially when you're you've got a large budget, you know, $1 million plus, spending that little bit extra and getting the color palettes right, you can really see that things in the house don't flow as they should. Most clients aren't designers, and nor are we. We can provide suggestions, but people who've gone and studied this for 3-4 years and they're in on the latest trends and colors really can start to put your whole house together.
No, definitely.
In saying that, has the average completion time increased by quite a lot? Obviously, I read a few things on news.com.au with some statistics saying
not for
timbers blown out, stuff like that. Have you
We kind
experienced
of
any
mentioned
delays?
at the start, so we're fortunate that there's two of us and we've got different aspects, and the part I play is forecasting, scheduling. So if we know timber is 3-month delay, we order it 3 months ago. So when I need it, it's there. And if we know, it's just about planning. So our job's got harder, but it shouldn't impact the build time. So our build times remain the same, maybe a month, and that's probably an extra month, but that's because of COVID, material shortages and trade shortages. And unfortunately now, and it's getting a little bit better because workers don't have to isolate for a week. But we were getting into stages where one person would get it, everyone around him had to isolate, and then the next person will get it. So one company maybe didn't work for 4 weeks because they spread it around the organisation.
What a hassle.
It was really hard. And now, like the weather, unfortunately, Melbourne's been, it's been one of the wettest years on record. So, if once our job gets delayed, because we're going to do a subcontractor model that he's got other builders that he needs to satisfy. So if it rains one day, we've been pushed back, and then the next person's been pushed back. But the key is just planning.
We're constantly trying to optimize our build times, and really on a job site, there should only ever be people on the site for 3 months. The rest of things is the waiting time in between. So realistically, 3 or 4 months of days on site is the actual build time. It's that in-between time of waiting. So we're constantly trying to avoid that gap to ensure that we're building at our fastest pace.
Make sure it's rolling on.
Make sure it's always rolling. Minimal days off the site is ideal.
And also we made a conscious decision to pay ourselves wages and not take money from the business in order to build up equity in the organisation, so we can afford to pre-purchase stuff. So we've got a factory. We pre-purchase materials very early on in order to keep the business running. So we found that a sacrifice from our end allows our business to grow, and we can service our clients better.
Definitely. What hidden tasks and costs are involved in the building process? So when you start, for example, road closures, permits, you don't have to go too in depth, but just small things like that.
You hit it on the head. It's all those external services. So our build cost is always one thing, but there's like the pits. At the front of the house, electrical pits, they're probably $5,000, and they all need new electrical pits. Your water connection, your gas connection, your internet connection, council fees, crossover permits. So the build cost is one, but there's maybe about 20 to 30,000 of council services that always are overlooked. So we try to always include them or provide an estimate for the client. So for example, if their budget's 600, we recommend we come in at 550. So they've got the funds, because we found a lot of times that these will come and they say, well, I've only got 600. I said, well, you've got these things to pay for. So we try to educate, and that's the biggest thing is education. Like we sometimes take for granted that we know the building game, and we think it's second nature for everyone else, but really our whole role is education. From the moment we meet them to the end, it's consistently educating them, not only how much things cost, but why it costs and where it comes from and where's that being contributed to.
Of course.
Have you had any builders or any homeowners or something like that have been looking to add like smart home technology into their properties or just anything of that sort?
It's funny you ask that question, because actually we spoke with the Altman brothers a couple of weeks ago and we mentioned technology. And he actually went on about how he's not a big fan of it. So he actually doesn't think that it's money well spent, because you're not going to actually get more money for the house if you're trying to sell as a development. But essentially what he was saying is there's an app on your phone that can, he was saying that can connect to your whole house.
The recommendation is through the build process is wire the house to be a smart house, but not to go and purchase the most expensive items. So, because the wiring's the inexpensive part, but to make sure it's ready for that future capacity. But at this stage, no, our clients haven't adopted that yet, but it's coming. I think little new stuff like the doorbells that connect to the phone so they can see who's coming, and intercom systems, but the fully integrated like curtains and lights and all that, no, not yet.
Has anyone like asked for it or not really? Like no one's even really.
To be honest, no, not yet.
No,
Yeah.
interesting.
It's it's interesting. Like you look at like 4-year-old children, and it baffles me because if you actually watch them, all they do is like speak into the phone. They don't obviously, or even going a bit older, even if they can type, they don't type. So I don't know. I always kind of think like, are we going to get to that point where we're going to have all these systems like, you're going to have it in the shower and you're just going to be like, hey, I don't know, do
voice
this for me.
activation.
Yeah, voice activation home or something like that. So
is that a thing? I don't even know. If
no, it's like it's not like I don't think like anyone's kind of doing it yet, but I can kind of see it happening. That's why I was like curious maybe to see if anyone's asked you to do it.
I've read about it, and obviously, I always like to keep up to date with newest trends, and it's available. It's all through Alexa. Do this, but it's our clients at this stage haven't requested, so we don't have a lot of experience in it.
Yeah, that's crazy because I think like a lot of these big corps, Alexa, and I think the Siri, Alexa, there's a few of them.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna eventually, you'll probably just get to the point where you like, if it does start taking off, you'll be like, hey, I don't know, can you please order me some milk? And then they'll send like their own version of milk. Rather than like, I know it's a weird example.
We've had a few clients that are just conspiracy theorists. They don't want people listening to their conversations. So they've probably got away from that.
It's weird. So like, it'll be interesting to see how that all evolves. Like, but yeah, if people start ordering it in homes, let me know. I'll be bloody curious.
One thing I wanted to ask is obviously you mentioned the interview with the Altman brothers. How did you build that connection? Number one, and two, what did you take away from that?
Essentially, that whole connection was just through a network.
Yep.
So a big part of this game and building and anything for that is networking with people, and we're constantly trying to up our network, and that purely just came from a network of ours.
It's probably a good segue. So Toak Projects is our building entity, but we also have a development group called the Levantine Group. Our partners within that were involved in bringing the Altman brothers down. So it was a good segue, given we're in construction, they're in real estate. So we were able to get 20 minutes of their time, which was great. And we spoke about all things real estate, property, how they got into the industry. Great guys, and gave us really good answers about things. And it's good to see how LA is a little bit ahead of Melbourne in terms of their styling and building and selling. So we were hoping to take some of that content, release it to everybody, but learn from it from our. Like if we want to be ahead of the game, there's some good content for us. But so the answer is our partners in our development group, Levantine, were the guys that brought them down to Australia.
And then, like, what was your biggest takeaway? Like, what did you kind of get out of it? Where you were like, oh, that's interesting, or like, what was the whole vibe of it?
It was fun to meet them. But one thing that really resonated is when we asked them what their key trends are in upcoming homes and what shouldn't happen. They were speaking like dining rooms, they're dead, no need for them in houses, and really got to put some grand walk-in wardrobes in master bedrooms, and because we're going through design process for some of our own developments, we quickly called our architect and we're like, listen mate, bigger walk-in wardrobe. So it helped us reiterate things that we all already kind of knew, but we're hesitant on pulling the trigger on some things. So we've taken those lessons and put them on our own developments and tried to implement them.
Do you feel like LA, they're ahead, obviously, but is it very different, like their style compared to our style? Like, did you get that vibe, or like?
I think they're just at an epic scale.
I think their budget of builds and sales is a lot bigger than where we're at right now. So
their million, they start $8 million, and there's some houses 88 million plus. They were speaking about shooting range and underground basements.
It's a whole different
$5 million swimming pool.
It's a whole different game.
So I think the money there is just more than the money here.
Fair. And going into networking, I think for anybody that's listening, I think this is actually a really good point that you made, because I don't feel like a lot of people are going in, even if they are in a business, or I don't know, just you're an average salesman, or if you're an average person that's looking to run your own business, or even if you are running your own business, I don't feel like they're putting enough of a standpoint on what networking can do. And I know you hear those things, tell me your network, and work at your net worth, all those cliche points. But I don't know if there's anything that you can, I don't know, provide some value on how you see networking, and what are they, even just tips on what people can do if they don't even know how do I network with people? Like, what, I don't know.
Just like, it's funny because you just never know who you meet, what they do, and how in life you can come across them and may need them. So I think we're fortunate enough, we grew up in a really nice family with great parents. So we normally just treat everyone with respect. And it's funny how, like, just in normal life, you meet someone, you treat them with respect, and then through your business network, you find out that they might be a concreter or a real estate agent, and then you can leverage on that. So it comes up with just genuinely caring about people. We obviously at some stage consciously did a network plan, so we wanted to interact with architects and we wanted to interact with certain people. So we put a network plan together, and which was important to start to get our brand out there. But just be nice to people, because you just never know at some point in your life where you might come across them and need them. So that's the number one tip, just be nice.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, there was that 3 to 4 month period where we had no work on, and we made the conscious decision together to say, let's hit up 10 architects, maybe 5 of them got back to us, and every fortnight we'd meet up, we'll take one for lunch. So obviously the architects are getting the jobs, and then they giving the jobs to the builders. So we started to consciously make the decision, all right, we know this architect, we know this architect, we know this architect. Let's take them out for lunch. Let's talk to them. Let's tell them what we're about. I think that played a big part. A lot of our jobs actually came from these architects. So it's about making that conscious decision to say, who is it that I need to talk to get me to where I need to be? And then networking, giving them a little bit of love, taking them for lunch, connecting with them, constantly calling them. Even same with your clients. If you got a client that don't get back to you, call them, see how you're going. Do you need anything from me? It's about following up and actually like pursuing the network.
Yeah. And just like showing that you give a fuck.
Yeah,
in a sense.
showing that you care.
Like,
Correct.
It's not all salesy. It's just like, hey, I'm here. This is what I do.
Yeah.
So if you need anything, it's a network is vice versa too. It's not what can I have from you. It's like, what service can I give back to you as well?
There's been times where I know my brother does a lot of the networking, and there's been times where we've had a client interested. They don't end up going ahead with the build, but my brother will uphold that relationship, and they end up recommending us through someone else. And we actually have jobs on at the moment that are through that network, not through the actual person that we're trying to get the job, but they've now recommended other people to use us just because we've been friendly and showed face and continually tried to build that relationship.
do you have like, I don't know, even if let's just say there's a builder that's listening to this, or they're a carpenter and they're looking to become go out on their own, like, what's some advice that you'd have for people?
Stick it out.
Stick it out, be patient. One thing that me and my brother did from an early stage was we promised that 24 to 48 hours we'll pay our trades. And what does that do? We call them again to come, hey guys, we've got this job. They'll be there. They're there. We pay you. We give you the respect of paying you. They give us the respect of coming, and when we need you, they'll be there. So I think that's a big part in like looking after the people that you're working with you and paying them on time. I think that plays a massive role in why we've been able to, build such a network of trades, because we look after them. And I think that's very important, and it's something that...
It's just put in a strategy. We've got key pillars to our business, and we try to stick to them. I think if you're going out on your own, have some key pillars. Key things is money. You got to have the right funds. I know people in construction, we might get a big payday one day, but go 6 months without it. It's how do you preserve that and not see a large figure in your bank account and go, oh wow, let's get a new car, a jet ski and a boat, and that's why we made a decision that we're on wages and the money stays in the account.
Blow it in Mykonos.
Because we only get paid 4 times a year. It's really not that glamorous thing. You might look at it and it dwindles So it's just be patient. It's a very patient game. It's a 3 to 5 year to at least establish yourself and be nice, pay your trades, be
Look after your
punctual.
trades.
You know, tradesmen's got the worst. I don't know. I've never understood coming from corporate that tradies just got the worst reputation and builders being not on time, not showing up. It's really simple, basic stuff. Like you tell a client you're going to be there at 1, rock up at 5 to 1, and watch how amazed they are. It's crazy.
It's such a little thing. Be punctual. Answer your phone.
You know, we get jobs because I've called someone when I said I was going to call them. They're like, "Oh, you're the only builder that called me back." I was like, "What do you mean?"
That's crazy.
Like, well, we inquired with 4. You're the only one that called me. I said, "Fantastic." How do we proceed? So you know, just be a man of your word. If you can't do something, be honest. If you can't make an appointment, tell them truthfully. Really simple, basic human stuff. But it's and I think that comes to taking on too much. I know we had to dig at trades, but when you overcommit to some things, it's probably try not to take on too much. Stick within that aspect, and you get a good reputation. Builders, it's a complete reputation game. You do something wrong at someone's house, and they tell their family and friends. Your reputation's damaged forever, and it's probably hard to recover.
Do you know what, like, something that really interests me about trades in general, which, I don't know, I'm sure you guys could probably assist in this. I look at, like, let's just use real estate agents, for example. Some agents that at one time could have 30 sales, you know, on the go, 20 sales on the go. And we're never saying no. Never, like, we'll always pick up the job. We'll always, and it's always a situation of, you know, once you get to a level, you'll get a PA, and then, you know, you'll look to just keep growing that team. Where I feel like trades in general, they don't. Like they'll, and I could be, maybe it's just a thing, but I always feel like you get a lot of them like, oh, we've too much on the go, and they kind of just cap it there, and they kind of like reject the job. Is that just maybe like a personal experience that I've kind of had? Or
no, I just think it's something that I mentioned earlier, is they're so busy working in the business that they can't work on the business. And how are they going to hire that PA when they have no time? They're physically building the structure and they're there. They have no time to liaise. They have no time to grow. So a big part of growing your business is actually not working inside the business. You have to work on. You have to hire people. You have to bring in on new jobs. You can't be working on a job when you're trying to win jobs for next year. You have to physically be trying to win these jobs that are in the future. So if I'm constantly working on only what I'm working on, I can't grow.
And I feel it is hard for the trades because real estate agents are not physically labour. So if the trade and you've got your phone to call, they're working. Like for example, a carpenter's physically working on a house. He can't be answering his phone consistently, and there's only a certain amount of hours in a day before they get tired. And it just reiterates, you know, our gratefulness for each other, because I think neither of us would be successful in this particular industry if we didn't have the other person. So my brother is a gun builder and carpenter, but admin side, it's not his strength, but he haven't had to. You know, how can you be good at something when you've never had to do it? From my end, you know, horrible carpenter. but I can do all the back end business stuff really well because that's what I'm trained in. So, and then it would take me 5 years to get to where my brother is, and then my business admin side would suffer. So we're just fortunate enough to have that. And I think that's what makes Toak Projects really good. It's us, you know, we are Toak Projects, and I think we make it what it is, and fortunate to have each other.
So that's interesting. So pretty much basing it down to is literally stop working in the business and work on the business. And let's just say, obviously, not everyone out there has a brother, or they might struggle to get a partner that they could do that, because it's hard to find a partner which you think is going to give a fuck about the business or give some level of it and even be good. So what could someone be doing if they're a builder and they're stuck? Like, I don't know.
Obviously, we spoke about it earlier, and it comes, unfortunately, we don't speak about money a lot, but it's sacrificing your own little bit of money at the start and employing builders are running multi-million-dollar businesses. Any other corporation that's turning over $3 to $5 million worth of money has 5-6 people employed in the organization. The builder sometimes is the lone person who's employed in the business. So if you have one person running a large corporate organization, it's not going to work. And I think they need to start framing it as an organization. It's a business that you need to have the appropriate amount of people working in it. So if my brother didn't have me, I'd be recommending him. He hired somebody to do that role, take a pay cut, employ that person, because in 3 years you could triple your income and supplement that person. And it's hard to get into that mind frame because a lot of builders go from a chippy to a builder. They run their own crew and that transition there. So I think there could be more education through the process of, you know, the business side for builders. You know, it's very much on how to build a home, but being a builder is 50% building a home, but 50% business skills.
Yeah.
So I think potentially in the whole education process, becoming a builder, maybe more emphasis on business skills, not just how to be a really good builder.
Yeah, it's a good point.
No, definitely.
Yeah, because even it's like a whole different skill set in which they're all they can hit the hammer and put the frames up and build the home, but it's a whole different thing that they need to learn.
I feel like being outside, I feel for them because and I don't know from my brother, he was never given the skills. He was never taught the skills. So you don't know something until you're taught it. So how you expected them to know something when they're never educated on it?
I think something like 60-70% of builders go bankrupt, and it's exactly because what he's saying is the business side of things. It's not there. It's literally they think they're only building a house, they're using hammer and nail, but that's not. That plays only half the part. Whereas the other half is you need to run a business, and that's why unfortunately so many builders are not successful.
Talking about like people, builders that are going bankrupt, how do you guys go? Like, obviously I've got no experience in building, but what scares me the most is like, imagine you guys have to quote a build which is 600k. Well, that's what you think, but then really it's 800k. Like,
we've been there. We've been there. It happened.
That's just like
we've been there.
COVID was the worst. Obviously, you need to have really good. So we've recently, like we said, employing people. I used to do all the quotes, but I'm not an expert at it. So we employed an office admin who is an expert at estimating to help with our skill sets. But during COVID, we quoted few jobs, fixed price, and it's a freak occurrence where it hit and materials doubled. We literally lost, hundreds of thousands of dollars during these projects because of it, and that's unforeseen circumstances. But you just need to be real thrifty. We had to work longer hours, and instead of hiring a carpenter, my brother had to revert back and doing the work because we couldn't get him, and going to the wholesaler and buying cheap tiles. You just had to do what you had to just grind it out. We'd like to think that COVID's not going to happen again, and you're not going to be stuck in that instance. And you try to forecast it too. So we like to try to forecast what's going to happen in the next 12. So if a build's going to take 12 months, we like to speak to the supplier. Say, all right, what's the price today? But what's the price going to be in 6 months' time? And scale things to that. So because we want to be fair on our pricing too. So we don't want to just add money to the quote unnecessarily, because we really pride ourselves on not being the cheapest, but not being the most expensive, but being the biggest value builder, where we can give a great premium product for a good price. So it's a lot of working pieces basically, but yes, it is a fear of ours too.
Yeah, and then through those mistakes, we then adopted some new systems and processes. So for every line item in the building that we lost money on, we now would create that as a provisional sum. So what a provisional sum is, if the price fluctuates, so if the price goes down, we refund you your money. If the price goes up, it's a part of the contract that you need to pay the extra. Yep. So I think it was about adopting quick. You need to learn, so we got done on this. What can we do in the future to ensure that doesn't happen again? Yeah. So there's maybe 10 line items in our contracts now that are provisional sums. So they kind of fluctuate with the building costs, which saves us from losing.
So it's more, it's two things. There's more raw materials. So at the time, timber, steel rise and fall very quickly. But also, like we spoke about earlier, we upgraded our factory. So at the start of a job, we like to purchase most things that we think are going to fluctuate in advance, because we never want to charge the client anymore. So we try to do whatever we can in our capacity to avoid that. And that's what comes with spending big early, purchasing them, storing them. So when the time comes, there is no extra price because we purchase things early up.
Yeah. What is the feel going into next year? prices on material going up? Is it going down? Like, what's the...
I read they're supposed to drop.
How long's a piece of string?
Okay.
It's so difficult because there's so many variable factors, and this isn't an economics podcast, but there's inflation and our currency costs, because Australia makes all their own materials and then just exports them out, and then we import in. So there's so many variable factors. I hope for all our clients' sake that materials do go down, because it's been tough for them. For us, thankfully, we charge them and they pay, so it doesn't really impact us greatly, but it impacts the mum and dads who saved all their lives to get the cash together. Then all of a sudden, we got to go to them, sorry, materials have gone up, it's an extra 25,000. It's unfortunate. So I really don't see it happening. I've never seen a price decrease. I don't know if you guys have. Once a company's used to making
that's it, done.
But at least hope this is the new norm. There's no increases. This just plateaus. At least we can provide some stability.
Okay.
You're also working on some of your own projects at the moment. How have you guys found that?
You want to take that one?
Yeah, look, dealing with council is probably the biggest hurdle.
Yeah.
So just always complying with what they want. We're constantly back and forth. You might be in council for 12 months, maybe sometimes longer. So for us, that's the biggest pain, is just trying to get through council. And then once you're past council, it's a good process. I think me and my brother, we love the design aspect. So we love getting hands-on early on with, the actual design aspect. So not only are we building, we're actually designing what we're building, which plays a massive part in the whole development. So like Michael said earlier, just adding the bigger walk-in wardrobe, because we have the opportunity to remove in the dining room if we have to make bigger areas elsewhere. So I think that plays a big part in the development, is being able to shift and move things and not just building it, being able to design it also.
It's just a lengthy process. Probably would like it to be a little bit quicker. So from trying to identify a property that has value of a knockdown rebuild, or two, we probably only want to do one house or luxury duplex. We've gone away from multi-dwellings because it allows us to have a design flair. We want to create one-off bespoke pieces that someone falls in love with, not that there's 7 or 8 of the same ones. So trying to identify the property, getting it for the price you want to get it for, to ensure that there's value in it. Then the design process, the council process, getting the loans from the bank to build. Most of them are a 3 to 5 year proposition. You're probably not seeing any money till about 5 years, because then you've got to sell them, they've got to settle. So that transition is quite lengthy, but we're kind of at the 4th year with 3 of them. So really excited that in the next 12 months, Toak Projects / Levantine Group will have about 3 different bespoke architectural stuff coming up, predominantly in the north too, which is great.
That's crazy. What are you guys finding? Like, how do you find, obviously, developing your own stuff? Is it something that you want to focus on more down the track, or how do you?
We're passionate about both. So we like.
It's hard to juggle both.
We like it, but I know it's corny. But, when you build someone their dream home and they've saved all their money and you got that interaction with them and you're working daily with them, it's a really good feeling. Helping somebody have their dream come true, but at the same time, sometimes their design intent and their choice of material isn't our design taste. So that's kind of where our passion lies, where we can see and visualize things of what we want them to look and follow these latest trends, and we want to build these really unique homes that are high quality that someone else can take. So our passion is with our own developments, but we do love the clients. So it's a 50-50 split, to be honest. At the moment, we're probably 80 client, 20 our own. We have a strategy to get to 50-50, but we'll always want to involve ourselves in the community and giving back and building people their dream homes.
That's amazing. Like, I don't know, for anyone that's watching this, they could be aspiring developers, or they might be just starting the process now to buy something, or maybe they're I don't know, maybe they're in I don't know. They can be anything. They could literally be in council, whatever it is. Like, what's some advice?
Tips.
Yeah, some tips that you got.
Do it. Prices aren't going down. I have a lot of family and friends saying, "Oh, I'll wait for the market to go down and then I'll go into it." Just get it done. Like to time the market is like to time the shares. It's impossible to time. And you guys are in real estate. Can you time the market? No. And then you know 3 or 4 years later you hear, I should have bought that property. It was a bargain. Like, at the time you told me it was too expensive.
And then 3 years later it's the same thing.
So
again.
just start it. Start seeing a financial advisor. See what you can borrow. Don't overspend. Don't overcapitalize. You know, do one really small and work your way up. Start renovating a 1-bedroom apartment. You know, make your 30, 40,000 and then progressively work your way. But the biggest tip is start today, because if you don't, then you're just never you're gonna fall behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, if you look at literally like the worst times in the market, like when COVID just hit, or I don't know, like I think just after in 2018 or 2019, after the elections, there was a period for 6 to 12 months where no one was purchasing. And if anyone that did purchase in there, like they jumped out and the property was worth just like some people.
You just had to have big, you had to be very confident, and because a lot of people didn't have jobs or they had no financial security, to then go purchase a home at that time was very difficult.
Yeah, literally. And if you literally do purchase within these times, you don't know. We don't know if the bottom's in. We don't know if it's going to drop another 10, 20%.
Exactly.
The market, I don't know if you listen to the media, I think they're saying another 10% drop or something coming all next year.
Have you found it's dropped?
It's interesting. Like I feel like we'd hit a bottom around May, June, July of this year. So we'd gone up 20% last year. Then I feel like we'd dropped about 10%, and we were following at a bottom. And then now the market has picked up a little bit, a couple percent, but only in the last week or two do I feel like for the whole year there hasn't been an influx of stock. There hasn't been a lot of stock in the market. So I feel like if you are interested in buying, there hasn't been a big pull. Where over the last week or two, there's been a lot of property hit the market. So this is going to be interesting to see the next 4 to 6 weeks if it holds up or not. And I've already seen like there's a property on Christmas Street, for example. They were quoting 1.2 to 1.3, and now they've dropped their quote halfway through the campaign 1.1 to 1.2. So it's going to be very interesting to see now that if there is a lot of stock, how it's going to affect.
Do you think there's a difference in a standard run-of-the-mill home with the market and then these one-off,
of course,
bespoke homes?
100%.
Is it because it's whatever someone's willing to pay for it that they are like?
Yeah, I still feel like, especially like homes in, let's just use Northcote, Fairfield, Thornbury, Alphington as an example. There hasn't been many. If you look at, let's just talk Northcote over the 4 mil mark. There's been a couple. There's been a couple this year. There hasn't been many, and every single one that I feel that has gone to auction has gone to the market, has achieved a really good price, because there are still people at that level, and there isn't much. Like there was one at the start of the year, it was probably May or June in Thames Street, Northcote, where I didn't really feel like it was a really good home, and it went for a 4 point something mil, and I was looking at it like, oh, that's very interesting. So I think at that level, like we haven't seen much. I'm not too sure, like Bayside or anything like that, exactly how the market's been affected there. I'd be lying if I answered that, but in this pocket's been okay. But I think the next 4 to 6 weeks will be a really good indicator to see what's going on, and if things aren't selling or if things aren't getting crazy prices, then I think next year could be very interesting. Yeah. So I don't know. Like you said, how long's a piece of string? Like, I don't feel bottoms in, but it's always hard as well. Like, America's obviously in a recession. How are we kind of affected? Like, if you look at in 2008 when the Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy and that collapsed the market. Here in Australia, I wasn't in the market, but from what I've done my research in, from 2008 to 2010, it was slow. It wasn't like not everybody was freaking out like, oh my God. But it was slow. So looking into America, I feel like the government's is coming out and saying that they're not in a recession when they clearly are. They've completely changed the wording of what a recession means.
Pre-recession or something.
Yeah, so a recession is obviously 2 quarters of negative, a negative rate, and then now the government's now kind of said, no, that's not what a recession means. So they've got their midterms coming up in the next month. So what people think is they're obviously just trying to push this out and just so they can, I don't even know what a midterm
You're
is.
getting political on this podcast.
No, I'm just like, I'm just always trying to, I could be completely wrong, but I'm always just trying to get a good gauge to see what's going on. So pretty much like you said, man, like it's, if you're in the market, like, and you've got the funds, just buy, man. Yeah, it might drop 5 to 10%, but just buy and just start developing. So I think it's, you guys have got it. Just fucking swing, but it takes courage, man.
Yeah, but like start small. You don't have to overcapitalize, and that's the problem. Don't spend every penny. Start small and work your way up. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
One thing I want to, well, there's two more things that I kind of want to touch on. One thing is just about you guys talked about how pay your trades. Now, do people not like pay their trades? Like, what's the issue there? Like, how does it work?
Paul start because he's a chippy and he can, because the ideas come from him.
Yeah, so I implemented this idea early on, and because I was a tradie and I like to be paid when I put an invoice in. Typically, I was always paid on time, and I like that. So if someone paid me on time, I adopted like, I'll look after that person.
So it's not an issue in the industry? Or
well, I do hear from a lot of our trades that, we love working for you guys, you always pay on time. This guy, I've put in an invoice, hasn't been paid for 6 weeks or 8 weeks. Yeah. Whatever it is, they're feeding their families for that 8 weeks without getting paid. Yeah. So we just implemented it early on, like, I want to pay my trades on the day, and you know what? And it's worked. Every time we pay someone, they freak out. They're like,
I think where it starts from is builders get paid 4 times per job. It's per stage. Yeah. And you get, I don't know if everyone knows, you get reverse paid. So you complete the work, you pay for everything, then the client reviews it, then you get paid back. Yeah. So you're always upfronting money for the build. Yeah. So I might do the frame stage, it might cost me 150,000. I've got to outlay that. I might have some people on account, whatever it is, but then the bank comes, looks at the frame, approves it, and then releases the funds. Yeah. So a lot of the time, these builders, if not managing funds well, or or have been taking money out of the bank, like we said, you get 250, you think you're rich, you're really not. If they're not managing that well, they'll get to a point that until the bank pays them, they don't actually have the physical funds to then pay the trade. So through my brother's experience, and again, keeps reiterating, we took that, said, all right, stuff that, let's take a wage, all the money stays in the business, let's treat this like a corporation, not like a mum and dad run business. It's a full corporation, you don't take money from the business. The business now has a kitty to be able to pay trades, pay suppliers, get things up early, and that's been really fundamental. So unfortunately, again, coming from corporate, I didn't quite understand, and similar to, I can see the look on your face, you're like, what? The guys did work, they don't get paid. And I didn't quite get it either. I was like, well, so that's our principle. If you send us an invoice, 7 days, we'll pay you in 2. Like, it's just a courtesy also. A lot of guys spent 2-3 weeks on our job, worked long hours,
paying their boys.
They get disgruntled. If you're not paying on time and you're delayed, they're really disgruntled. So again, not all other builders have their own systems and processes, but you could see how they couldn't because of how our payment structure works. So we just made a conscious decision on how to run our business that way.
Is that like? Do you feel like this is like a really big industry problem?
Huge, huge industry problem. Managing cash flow in an organisation like that when you get minimal money is difficult.
How is there a way? Do you feel like there's a way? I know you guys have got a pretty down pat, but do you feel like there's a way that, I don't know, could be invented, or just something, or just is there a body or something at all that can kind of like manage all these, like this issue, so then people can get paid on time?
It comes down to that business intellectual stuff, because I know that the bigger guys probably don't have this issue, but when you're a small startup, understanding what cash flow is, and understanding payment terms, and all those business elements is really critical. So there could be a body, and I'm sure there's a lot of disputes from trades to builders and trades and homeowners. There's a lot of that, but yeah, it's probably something that could be addressed, definitely.
And one thing that I've been told a lot is someone's been promised money, so they're waiting on money, and the builder's promising them money, but they don't get it for, they say next week, but it's 8 weeks.
Yeah.
I think just being transparent, saying, hey, I'll get this coming in 8 weeks. I can maybe give you a couple grand, but it's actually not coming for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Instead of stringing them along, saying,
Yeah.
next week, tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's when it becomes an issue, because you're lying to the tradies.
Yeah.
You're saying, it's coming, and then you know it's not coming for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Be transparent, give them what you can. If you can't, tell them, hey, it's coming in 8 weeks, I'm so sorry. Tell them before the job starts, this is when we can get paid. Are you able to complete the job? Otherwise, I have to get someone else. So just being honest is a big role in this.
I think it's just a life thing, like overextending yourself, like getting that newest car, buying the jet ski and going on these fancy Europe holidays when really the funds aren't available.
Yeah.
Like, builders aren't the only ones that are caught in that
Of
trap.
course.
It's
everyone.
It's everyone. The
Every
only thing
industry.
the builder has that others don't is they get a large sum that's supposed to carry them through the whole build, so they have access to it early. But it's society in general, it's this show pony type thing. So we all need to change.
Yeah, of course. And pretty much the final thing that I just wanted to kind of touch on was Paul. Obviously, I think this could probably this goes tied into the whole networking thing. You know, jumping on the block. Now you were pretty much a main builder for the block. I think